Okay, welcome back to part 2 of the tutorial series. Here we're looking at how to make a fish in Maya. For part 1, we focused on making the model for the fish, which everyone should have ready here. Next part would be to UV the fish. So in order to UV the fish, you just have to get the UV editor. In order to do that, just go to UV menu up here, UV editor. Should pop up like this, might look something like this. If for whatever reason you have it as part of like a window, snap it to the right here. It's kind of a little bit easier to work with two screens at once. We won't really use the outliner for now, so we could just hide that, or the toolkit. Some people find it easier to use a toolkit. I just use the mouse for everything. So for UVing these, we just have to UV different parts at once or individually, and then put them all together. So first is the body. If yours doesn't look like this, because I have some things turned on mine, so in this case I have the checkerboard pattern turned on so I can see the distortion levels, and as you can see everything's kind of messed up. I'm going to fix that. And then if it's not blue and it's just blank, it's because you have just no modes on. With this mode, the shaded view in the UV editor, it's going to actually give you um, like a blue and red view, and it's basically telling you like what's facing the right direction and what's facing the wrong direction. But that's not all. You not just everything doesn't just have to face the right direction. It also has to have the right kind of resolution and the right kind of look. Because painting something like this would be impossible in like Photoshop or GIMP if you don't have that. Okay, so if you have this set up, first we're gonna basically project the fish from different angles so that we can capture all the faces and be able to split it open, kind of like you're basically turning a 3D figure into a 2D figure. Think of like a box, the way you kind of open, like break down a box, like a cereal box or like an Amazon box. Same concept. You're taking a 3D shape and making it into a 2D flat surface so you can paint on it. And then you're also gonna think about like seams, kind of like a shirt. So when you wear your shirt, you have certain seams. That's how they stitch the clothes together. We're gonna approach all UVing kind of the same way. We're gonna find the right seams. How you can tell seams are being created is this white edge right here. So if it's just green in object mode, there's no seam there. But if you see an edge there that's like highlighted white, you can see these are like the ends of a UV. Alright, so in order to get this flat, we gotta get different sides of the fish. So the first thing we're gonna do is gonna go to object mode, select the fish body. We're gonna focus on the fish body first. And in the fish body, we're going to open up the UV menu and go to Planar, hit the option box. And this is gonna give us a few options to basically screenshot parts of the fish. For example, when you hit it here, it's just gonna take a flat shot of the fish. Depending on what axis you do it on, that's the top view, that's the front view. You'll get different sides. The most important part is that you don't do best plane, just do bounding box. That way it blocks off the plane based on a box that you set up. It'll fit the fish inside this square. Next, you want to choose the side, which we can test later. And the next most important thing is keep image width and height ratio. That way your fish doesn't come out looking kind of lopsided. Because here it's going to try to fit the box. You don't want that. That's inaccurate. As you can see here, it'll mess up all the UVs. So what you want to do is just keep images in width, height and width ratio. So back to object mode to do everything. And you have this like little sardine shape after you hit apply. And when you turn on the shaded view, you'll see like a purple fish. The reason it's purple is because you have a blue side and you have a red side. Blue means you're facing the right direction, and when you paint on things, it'll be on the right way. Red means it's in opposite direction, so if you paint it on something like this, it'll be like the opposite. So if you paint it left, it'll actually look right. So the idea is to make everything flat so we can paint on everything equally. So how we do that is we're going to make a seam around the entire fish. The way we do that is we select the center line, and then we're going to go hover over the UV box and then shift right click, cut. And what that's going to do is going to create a seam around the entire fish. Now we're going to split those two parts. So you go to UV shell, that way you can select the entire shell, W to move it, and just move it away from each other. As you can see here, you have a red side and a blue side. Blue's right, red's wrong. We're going to switch over to the edge mode again. And this time I want to cut the head off because I'm going to do some different stuff with the head. So select the top, you can just hit the edge here and it'll go around both on the 3D view. And then hover over the UV editor, shift right click, cut. And that's going to split the fish head into two different sides and leave the body by itself, as you can see here. So one thing we're going to do here is go to UV mode so we can flip these to the right direction. When you go to UV mode, these will highlight as you kind of hover over them. Just double click it and everything should highlight green. That means you selected all the UVs in that shell. And then you're going to hit shift, right click, and flip. And that's going to flip your UVs. And as you can see, the body of the fish on this side is mostly okay. You have some red in the back because it hasn't been, these things here are flat. So it's going to give you some errors on it. How you fix that is you just leave it on UV mode and you hold shift, right click, unfold, unfold. And what it's going to do is it's going to make everything kind of pop out and like relaxes all the edges and all the different components so that everything's kind of doing its best to look forward or look up. You can do the same thing to the bottom one, shift, right click, unfold, unfold. And you can see the red is fixed. Sometimes it takes a little bit to catch up on the 3D view. But there you go. So your fish is, the body of it is in the right direction. Now in class I did a overhead cut. That's how I would do it if I was hand painting this fish. Cutting the top head and the bottom part. That way, you know, the jaw is kind of its own thing and the bottom of the mouth its own thing. And then the top of the fish, it's its own color. That's typically how I would do it and how I did it in class. But because of the fish like reference image that we have, it's also the one we're going to use for our like for our texture. It doesn't look so great when you kind of try to make a headpiece out of this. It just doesn't, it didn't look well. It didn't look right. So I think I'm just gonna split out the mouth so we can color in the mouth manually and just kind of use the side views here. Okay, so once you have the fish body laid out and unfold it, you're gonna move to the head. For the head, we're gonna select this edge that's right here. I just kind of clicked an edge and hit F to zoom in on it so I can work in the mouth. We're gonna select this outer edge. That way it selects everything at once and the mouth could be its own thing, like the inside of the mouth. We'll just keep it up to the lip and then hover over here, hit edge, cut. And then in the UV shell, just move these out. You should have these like lingering faces behind. You can leave these together for now. We're gonna work on them in a minute. And we're just gonna try to unfold these, see how it looks. You're gonna right click, go to UV mode, right click the UV, select all of them, shift, right click, unfold, unfold. And you should get that look here. Makes sense, it kind of looks like the fish. Most of the fish is going to have pretty good distortion as far as the squares go. You'll see a little bit some around the eyeball. It's kind of hard to do with these, but I'd rather not make a seam around here. A little distortion might look okay there, so I'm not too worried about it. The mouth is always going to have a little distortion in this case. Again, it's just because the reference we have to use is over here sideways. Normally I would cut it from the top, but it's okay. So we're going to take that off. UV mode again to this side. Unfold, unfold. The fish is going to come upside down. We want to turn it right side up so we can paint on it properly. And just kind of leave it there. On this side. And looking at the squares between those two, they're actually pretty good. They're about the same size, so we're looking good there. And we're just going to move these shells back in here since we're done working with them. And we're going to save. Okay. And now we're going to work on the mouth. The last part we have to fix. So in the mouth, we're going to just select the edge mode, sorry, face mode. Select the mouth faces, which should just be these up here. And we're going to do a planar mapping of them on the z-axis. And that's because it's the front axis on the z. That way we take like a simple snapshot. If you do things from the side and you try to unfold them, it doesn't usually work well. So it's good to get as close of a snapshot as possible, like a flat view first, and then just spread it out than it is to try to spread it out from the side. It just doesn't work well with the algorithm that Maya uses. So after we selected the faces, go to face mode, select the faces, just move this to Z, the projection from, and hit apply. And you're gonna get this weird face thing. It's okay. Go to UV mode, select all the UVs, unfold, shift right click, unfold, unfold, bam. The mouth is blue, not a lot of distortion, just very small squares because it's huge compared to the rest of the body. And just go to shell mode, select your shell, hit R for scale, just scale it down. Turn on these checkerboards so you can kind of judge the size of it. To me, that looks about right. And in this case, we're just going to paint this. We're not going to use a reference of a fish mouth or anything, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Cool, so we're done with the fish body. Most of these look about the same. Mouth, I'm going to make these slightly bigger. Yeah, that looks about right. Cool. We're going to select all these and just kind of move it out of the way. And you'll see why later. Once we select everything at once, it'll make a lot more sense. So for the fins, it's easy. Go to object mode. The fins are pretty much already in the right place. Just go to X projection and then hit apply. And you see it, it'll kind of just go the right way. Move it out of the way for now. Go to your next fin. Again, project it over the X. Hit apply. Oh, if you're in face mode, make sure you're in object mode. Select the object. Hit apply. Move it out of the way somewhere else. Back fin. Same thing, go to object mode. If you're in face mode, it won't work well. Just move it out of the way. And this tail, object mode. Hit apply. Move it out of the way. And we have these side fins here. Object mode, fin, hit apply. These side fins, since they're kind of at an angle, you're going to have to unfold them. So just hit, go to UV mode after you snapshot them in the X. And then hit shift right click, unfold, unfold. And that just straightens them out so it's completely flat. And we can just move those out of the way. Object mode, select the other fin, hit apply. Go to UV mode, select it, and unfold, unfold. Actually, I think as we duplicated that, it should automatically do it. Let me see, let me undo that. No. UV, unfold, unfold. Cool. And let's just move this way out of the way here. So we're done with that. And then the last thing we need is the eyeballs. For the eyeballs, go to object mode, select the eyeballs. They might be a little bit hard to work with, so we're gonna minimize that for a minute. Under show, isolate selected, view selected. It's gonna hide everything else and just show you the fish eye. So hit F to focus on it. The most important part of the fish eye is going to be this side here because we want it to look straight. It's impossible to use a picture and find the right way to spherize that. I'm sure there's some software algorithm that'll do it, but just to make our life easier, we want to isolate this half so we can put the fish like pupil into it, and then the back is just going to be white like a regular eyeball. So just once the object selected, we're going to restore that. We're going to take a plane from the x-axis because it's actually looking in the right direction. So just hit apply. You'll see this pop up. Go to UV shell, actually edge mode, and just cut in the middle where the red and the blue meet. Shift right click over the UV editor and cut UV shell and move the shells around. You can see one of them is red. Go to UV mode, shift right click, unfold, unfold, top right, shift right click, unfold, unfold. And when you unfold them, they'll be a little bit better when it comes to distortion. And we're going to select those two. We're going to move it way out of the way here. Cool. And minimize this for a minute. We're going to show, isolate selected. Again, now go to the other one, hit F to zoom into it, and then show, isolate selected. That way we can work on it. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to UV X snapshot. It's going to do that half thing. Edge, select the middle, shift right click, cut. UV shell, move the shells around. Oops. UV, double click UVs, unfold, unfold, double click, unfold, unfold. Cool. So now that they're both unfolded, I'm going to move this one way out here. We can close this since we're done with that. This hasn't updated, it's okay. Show, view selected. Cool. So now it's the whole fish would be out. And what you do is you just drag select the entire fish. Go to object mode, click off of everything, and then select the whole fish. And you'll see all your components. That's why I said to move them around, just so you can see what's going on. One thing to keep in mind, if you go to face mode, just find which one's the inside face for each. So this is the inside, and this is the outside. Okay, so outside of the eye, top right, and this is the outside of the, nope. So the top right are the two insides of the eye, outside of the eye. Just put those together, it's easier when you're working with it. The other ones are just going to be white, so they're not super important. And then we're just going to scale things a little bit. So we're going to take these two fins, which are like the side fins, and kind of scale them about the same size. We're going to turn on this tangle view. We're just going to try to match the size of the, go to UV shell, select this shell and this shell. We're going to make them smaller so that the squares are about the same size. That looks about right to me. And then we're going to move those two together kind of over here, just so we know they're somewhat there in the same place. I think this is the bottom one. Yeah, hit F. We're going to scale that guy. That's about right. W to move it in here. Select the next guy, hit F, dorsal fin, R to scale it down. That's about right. Move it up here, F, F, scale. And the whole point is so that everything has about the same resolution. You don't want things to have different resolutions. Move this guy W up here. Scale. That's about right. These two in the back, we're going to make them real small. So again, we're not really using these too much. Can't really even see them. And it's just going to be like a white paint of coat of paint. And then just select the two last ones for the outside of the eyeballs. They should be about the same eye size. And then just, make them smaller until the squares look about the right size as the other squares. That looks okay to me. So push them a little bit closer together. So now what we want to do is we want to resize everything to fit inside the main square here. So just select everything and then just if you have anything out here, it'll highlight. And then just shift right click, layout, and layout along UV. Let's turn this guy off. And what you see here is that everything's kind of put together. It's not great, the process that it takes, and some things kind of overlap. So we're going to select everything again. We're going to make it a little bit smaller so we can really work with stuff. That's an eyeball. That's the inside, that's the inside, that's an eyeball. Okay, so I'm going to put these two together again. And what we want to do is we want to kind of move these manually somewhere that makes sense. So this is the left and right side. You kind of keep those the same. It's okay there. These you kind of want to give more space so you can paint a little bit easier. Make sure you don't cross over to the next square. That's really the only rule. This one I'm going to put up here so you can paint. I put the mouth together so we know that all that stuff kind of goes together. And then these here, these here, these here. Okay, that'll make it make painting a lot easier later. And again, this should keep the the size of the square is about the same as we left it before. It's just the overall space that it takes. It's not well. And again, the only square that should be highlighted when you turn the checkerboard, it should be that top right square of the center X point. If anything's touching the outside of it, it'll highlight the next thing over. So if you do this, bam, it'll highlight the next one. Lastly, I'm going to save right now since I've UV'd everything. And I'm going to scale everything one more time a little bit bigger just to take as much space as I can. And then use the UV shells to move stuff around again. Just trying to maximize as much of that surface area in this square area. I think that's as good as it's going to get for this case. I think this fish is touching out here. I'm going to switch these up. Move this one here. No. That's kind of where you find out, you know. Let's move this guy away here. Nah, I might just have to make it a little bit smaller for everything. Yeah, so just select everything and make it a little bit smaller. Cool. Check again that nothing's crossing over, and we're golden. So, right side of the face, left side, mouth, tail, side fin, other side fin, bottom fin, or back fin, bottom fin, top fin, inside of the eye, inside of the other eye, outside of one eye, outside. Just checking that those are the outsides. Yeah, okay. And then left and right side of the fish. So we're good, we're done. That's the UV. I'm gonna hit save. And then we're gonna start using GIMP or Photoshop to do the textures.